we're so happy to host VTech for the first time in our history. So enjoy yourselves here, and also we have a wonderful zoo in downtown, so you can get an opportunity to visit our historic downtown. We had a wonderful event yesterday, but just thank you for being here. I just really wanted to talk about, there's a lot of information on one graphic, but the regional economic growth that is happening in our region in Cameron County. We also look at Matamoros. Matamoros is a sister city for the City of Brownsville. When we look at our capture area with regard to retail or economic development, we're a population of almost 200,000. During our daytime, population exceeds that. But also, if you look at Matamoros, which is about 800,000 population, we're probably looking at a capture area of over 1 million people, 1.2 million that come across our border. Here you'll see is a couple of things. We have the Port of Brownsville, we have SpaceX. Pete talked about the LNGs, which we'll go through on my next slide. But $21 billion in investment between the two liquid natural gas facilities, and also just the Greater Brownsville Center Corporation has about a 723-acre piece of property that is available for economic development. And why is that as important? Because it fronts on what Pete just described, Interstate 169, right? So that's important, right? We have almost a mega site, which is there are very few. A mega site in the state of Texas is an area for industrial or economic development that is almost 1,000 acres. So there's becoming less and less with the announcement of Samsung in the city of Taylor, and now Hutto, what it's experiencing there. We're seeing less and less of these large sites that can be on not only rail served, but has a really great connectivity with the port. And so as I go through my presentation, I really want you to think of the connectivity between different modes of transportation. And so with that, the tentacles of the City of Brownsville actually extend to the Gulf. When we look at our extraterritorial jurisdiction, our jurisdiction really goes all the way out to where Port Isabel is. And if you look at your map, there's a red line that really extends to, which shows, this here is the second causeway, which we were fortunate to have functionally classified. And why is that important? Because we're really looking at this multi-million-dollar project, billion-dollar project, and lo and behold, the alignment is within the city's ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction, and also our growth boundaries. So we're very excited about that project and what it does for safety and connectivity throughout the region. You may have talked about 6 modes. Yes, there is 6 modes. I would say anything that has to do with any of these modes of transportation, particularly highway, should be looking at complete streets. And I know that TxDOT's really adopted the complete streets model. The Port of Brownsville itself, if you look up, start with water, the Maritime Port is a 40,000-acre publicly landed public port authority. It's the largest in the nation. It has a $3 billion annual state economic impact. This is annually, is in addition to what's to come with the LNGs. We are foreign trade number zone 62, which is one of the top 3 in the nation for import export. And also is experiencing a wonderful, with the Army Corps of Engineers, a deepening of the channel from 42 feet to 52 feet. Now, why is that important? It's a game changer with the capacity of the cargo ships that will be coming in. What's unique about the Port of Brownsville, we have the opportunity to visit it, is that they not only do ship breaking, but they actually build ships. That's really cool. Hybrid ships. So they're one of the most clean types of shipbuilding that you will see in the nation and in the world is happening at the Port of Brownsville through Citrium, formerly Capital Anvils. So we have very international companies that come through our Port of Brownsville. In fact, SpaceX itself has shipped product from Florida to our coast to Starbase. Rail, I think there is a need for additional rail connectivity. Putting a new rail in any business park is expensive. So, when we look at rail, I feel like that's one of the missing links for expansion opportunities with UPRR that serves our area. Highway is important. The East Loop project for us is critical. He mentioned it, the $100 million functional classification of that project. It not only links the Port of Brownsville and that growth area, but also our airport. So we're looking at multiple ports. So, and SpaceX is a spaceport. And so you look at the spaceport, the maritime port, the airport, and the port, right? And I really ask that when we look at international hubs of multimodal transportation, that we look at the multiple types of ports, right? And our border, which is Veterans Bridge, which links that. Why is also the East Loop important? Not only because of truck traffic connectivity, but also is that this bypass road will allow our community to be safer. Because right now they use international, which is goes through some school areas and commercial areas that are really incompatible with truck traffic. So from an environmental and safety perspective, we really need that East Loop project to be funded and be built. Bike ped is also very important to our city. As you know, is that with the availability of TxDOT funding, we've been very fortunate to expand our network of trails. In fact, we were one of the few cities to do the rails to trails when the West Rail Trail was opened, and we're actually using those counters to really track data in terms of it's very important to show our community and show you all that we're a very data-driven community, and so we're tracking that with the initiative of the RGPO has assisted us in being able to track the amount of pedestrian and bike traffic through our trails. The Rails to Trails, a national organization, is actually going to do a documentary and come to Brownsville and film our bike riders, not only from Brownsville, but we're inviting Matamoros because they also have their own trail system. And the question is, how can we extend and connect both trails through possibly the B&M Bridge? Of course, you've heard much news. The governor's office announced that this is one of the largest privately funded infrastructure projects for the state of Texas in 2023 at a whopping $18.4 billion. Texas LNG has also identified that they are going forward with their projects. They received their permit. That's another $3.2 million. But if we're looking at job creation and the construction of these LNGs are within a time frame of 3 to 5 years, what I see is while we believe that 5,000 to 6,000 employees will come through Bechtel, who's constructing the LNG, that Texas LNG will also have its construction workers. So we're looking at possibly 7,000 workers, but I would say, I would think that they would probably overlap within a 10-year period. And so when you're living in a location for 10 years, and we're the largest city in Cameron County, is that they'll probably have formed roots. And what we also see is the brain drain that we historically have seen will come back. There's a commitment to bring workers back that have left the Rio Grande Valley, and also even SpaceX commitment to bring people with transferable skills to Brownsville. So we're very excited about what's going on. But it really, when you look at the economic generation of the Rio Grande Valley, and specifically the Port of Brownsville, Cameron County, and where you are now, this is the future, right? And so it's really important to be ahead, right, with all our proper planning and construction and tax dollars. SpaceX, I'm not really going into this because we have Catherine Leaders here, General Manager of Starbase, but we wanted to really extend and actually we believe it's so important with the type of jobs generated, not only in Brownsville and Cameron County, but also as far as McAllen. So when we look at the east-west connectivity of our road system, we really think of the economic hub that is this region, and really bringing in workers, not only to live here, but come from other communities and really have them have an opportunity to stay here in Brownsville. And we talked about also workforce. We have a young population, about 30 is our average age, which allows for intergenerational workforce. So manufacturing, light manufacturing, advanced manufacturing works really well for our city and the population we live in. In order to be successful, most cities, I think, in the 21st century, what we learned after COVID is that it's very critical to have a good broadband connectivity. And so in 2014, the city was actually one of the least connected or the least connected city in the United States. That's not a ranking that you're proud of, but it's a ranking that you realize that you need to change. And through the American Rescue Fund money that we all received, cities received, we dedicated $19.5 million towards the middle mile. The middle mile broadband, and then through a public-private partnership, leveraged that, and with our partner, Lit Fiber, Lit Communities, they were leveraged another $70 million. So it's a $90 million project. We finished almost 100% of the middle mile, which is the first 100 miles. And what's just interesting about this is it's meant to be affordable to our residents. So if you really want 100 up, 100 down, it will cost you about $30 to $35, which is probably half of what people will are paying right now. So for us, it's important to allow for options in a way that also takes into consider cybersecurity, because it is a fiber network that is sustainable because it's below the ground, below grade. It's about 48 inches below grade. Because of the windstorm requirements, it's very important to be able to have a source of fiber connectivity that is resilient for the area that we live in. So this is BTX Fiber, and there's a philosophy there that, while our certain ISPs didn't feel the need to go into our urban core area, our first ring, which is our downtown, which is the ring that has the most businesses, small businesses, and the most residents, the most dense part of the city, we started with that. And while there's pain points in construction, that's what it needs to build up the foundation we need to be successful and accelerate our economy. And from there, if you have good fiber and broadband, then you can integrate the best technology. We know as government and state, local, federal government that personnel is hard. It's hard to come by. COVID changed the way we work. There's a lot of workforce that works from home, right? So they need that reliable connectivity with entrepreneurships. But also our law enforcement. How can we extend their tentacles through data? And so what we found is, and what our police chief, Felix Salceda, who's also my assistant city manager, is downtown surveillance equipment, license plate recognition, crash-related software, which is CRIS, routes. We track routes that are impacted by our LNGs and truck traffic. We look at mega sites for congestion. You can see the heat map that we've developed. And so all that, we're very data-driven. That's the way we work with Border Patrol as well. And as we talked about HB, is it 4422? This will also help feed some of the data that TxDOT needs to feed into border technology and border surveillance and security. Because cybersecurity, we hosted a cybersecurity regional conference a couple of weeks ago, and many of our ISDs came and cities came to really understand the approach that we're taking in security is Department of Defense level security. From a government aspect, we feel many cities are being hacked. The city of Long Beach, for example, they were hacked so badly, all they could do for weeks is answer phones. So those are the types of, even our most technologically savvy cities that in the nation are being hacked. So we really need to think of that security. But with regard to vehicular crossings, we have about 3.5 million that crossed in fiscal year 2023, and 1.7 pedestrian crossings in 2023. So we're looking at 5.2 million crossings between vehicular and pedestrian crossings. Those keep increasing, and we expect with the great economic development that we're experiencing that that'll just continue. The trend will be continued, and we need to be ready for that. One of our biggest pain points are signalized intersections. The city has been behind the time with regard to, and we realize that with the RGB and PO's construction management plan, that only 10% of our 262 signals were synchronized. And so we would get the calls, one of the first streets we synchronized or boulevards was Boca Chica, right? And Boca Chica takes you to the port and SpaceX. And so, you really got a lot of the calls, thank you for synchronizing that street, right? It was amazing. And we're fortunate that while the City of Brownsville allocated its own general funds or sales tax funds and the tune of $1.5 million to advance that, TxDOT also was a very collaborative partner in giving us about $400,000. We're going to ask for more because we really need that to be able to be safe, be effective, and for our whole region. It's a great way where when you don't have the right of way and the capacity to widen your roads, this is a great way to get traffic through safely and effectively. So through hopefully carbon reduction funds and other types of funding, we can actually reduce that $6 million need that we have. And lastly, the city is looking at becoming a 5G city. It's not just to have another ranking, which is the other way. It's like Las Vegas and then Brownsville as a 5G city. But really, what are we doing? Not only cellular connectivity through our trails where people feel comfortable, having that quality of life and knowing that they're going to use a cell phone safely if they're going and walking our trails, monitoring traffic management, for better traffic flow, automate license plate recognition, and predictive analytics. What do we do with the data that we're collecting to predict and really identify the future of our traffic congestion? That's all I have for you, but I'm really excited about the future of Brownsville and the region, and can we be a model for even border surveillance and just safety in general in our region, and extend that knowledge to all our partners as we really become active in how technology improves our economic safety and development of our border region. Thank you very much.
Thank you.